Game jams, game jams, game jams. I did talk about game jams at GDC. It is still under the paywall though. So I did a similar talk here at King, where I'm currently working, about making game jams a sort of part of a bigger corporate group, and you're making a game jam public while you're part of a corporation, and how does it work. And in this video we're focusing on the process. I will be posting more videos about the topic where I will discuss KPIs, how to upsell that to the boss, how to report the success of the game jam upstairs, so next time you get bigger budgets. So that's gonna come in the next videos, and this is why you want to subscribe to this channel and put a like. If we were a big company, if it was a company-driven game jam, we would have had like bullet points and how do we measure, like why do we invest. For community things, it's hard to measure what is a success. It's hard to measure like why we're doing that, how to decide why we're doing that. But still, I mean, like, we have a gut feeling of why do we want to have game jam. Probably we want our community to have fun, probably we want us to have fun. It's still like those are, you know, very like penciled bullet points, but it's good if ideally together, but even at least separately have like bullet points. How do I decide if it went well? Even if you don't tell anybody, you'll know. It's important to have the motivation for the next game jam. If it was something bigger, if it was company driven, probably we would have had multiple bullet points: the number of people involved, the number of games shipped, then the number, whatever brand interaction, then we would have built the metrics and we would have a number. And then for the next game jam, we would have had exactly the same metrics and the same number, and this is how we would compare. So game jams is totally measurable thing. So this is us, or whoever organized the game jam. Next thing is community. What do we want from the participants? Or like otherwise, it's the right question to ask: what do the participants of the game jam want? So fun, fun. Any other reasons to do the game jam?
Learn, maybe.
Learn
from other people, or
learn from other people. Okay, let's go learn. Let's go learn.
get to know the community, maybe.
Get to know the community. Okay.
I guess it's fun as well, but
Like I'm trying to figure out, you know, the main emotion is like, I mean, game jams is probably like a week or a weekend, and there are so many ways to spend it better than sit and code for something that there is no, you know, clear remuneration or compensation. So it should be emotional, because that's the only thing you're getting back.
yeah.
So my point is, why I'm writing down what the community wants is, shipping is not here.
No.
So like the process is what you care, but we, or game jam orgs, they kind of care for people to ship. Why? Well, there are many reasons, but the main probably is this is the easiest way to measure the success of a game jam. So what I'm implying here, that shipping is not part of participant necessarily want, but if they ship, they become happier. If they don't, they become slightly less happier, but still happy because they enjoy the process.
Yeah.
So here is the line and ship. Then and like, if we think what makes people ship, and well, if everything just goes well, that's one thing. But then, I mean, it's very often that it just doesn't assemble. Maybe it's the sun, maybe it's nah, I'm just too tired, it just doesn't work. I mean, it's a game jam. So I want to put here something like, let's call it a nudge, as in a nudge to ship. I suggest during the game jams, like, we as orgs or as part of the community, we can help this, we can facilitate these nudges, so people, well, enjoy getting nudged and actually ship and become happier. So if you don't nudge, they still have all that fun,
Yeah.
and they may or may not ship, but if we nudge them, they become happier. So like, nudging doesn't have negative connotation here.
Yeah.
And so for example, social activity around the jam. So if, you know, peers on Twitter tweet about the jam if there is like some activity on the forum and Slack somewhere. So it's like, oh, it looks like, oh, everybody in the jam, like it's still it's a bit of pressure. So I put it as social.
Yeah.
Then another very strong, but that's mainly a nudge to participate or like to return to the jam if you became, for example, too occupied with the sun. But what about shipping? That's where I was going. I think that the best way to nudge people to ship is to inspire them to show early progress.
Yeah.
So that's like the single best thing to do. All the lists that we've discussed today, there is always like one thing that dominates. Like, what do people want to do? They want to have fun mostly.
Yeah.
What do we want people to do? Well, we mostly want them, actually to ship, and that doesn't correlate. So how do we help them?
Yeah.
For game jams that are facilitated by big companies with strong marketing divisions, like there is a process. For small community things, probably the ideal way is to focus on what is easy for the game jam orgs and what makes the main difference. So we nailed down that to inspire for the early progress. Well, how do we inspire for the early progress? Well, first, and I'm very bullish on this point, is that for a game jam it's important, like the sense of community, to get to know the community and to have this peer pressure, and also to see that something is going on, because how the jams happen, well, people see it in remote corners on this planet and they jam and then they ship or they don't. But if there is one very convenient place to sort of hang out, and for our community it's forum, but not the whole forum because it's huge. It's actually a forum thread. It's actually like a single official forum thread where people sort of hang out. What do? Some share progress, some just type, I'm so tired. Like, oh shit, nothing is working. Sub point here is Slack. The reason for, like I've just said, let's assemble people in one place, and now I'm saying, look, there is also Slack. Thing is, many people, they like sharing emotions and they're like typing a lot. So if we don't give them Slack, they're gonna post all those status updates with the shit, I'm too tired, nothing works, and like in the forum, which may demotivate, like let's call it more constructive posts. So while having Slack dilutes the focus, I still think that we need to have a chat. Now, how do we invite people to this space? Well, the whole communication, like whatever, use all the tools that we have to get people on the single forum thread. Link from each show, like that's what the games are normally organized. Well, Twitter. Well, newsletter. What else do we have? Well, we may have YouTube, while this is a bit more complex and requires heavier content. What else do we have? We probably have Facebook, which may want to inspire a community, but like the idea is that we shoot from using all the canons that there is like one single forum thread, and the natural question is, look, if the game jam is on each show, why don't we utilize each show, sort of natural thing to. We tried multiple times and failed every time we tried, so either I and we are doing something wrong or it doesn't work. If the single goal is to utilize all the canons, all the marketing canons that we have to bring people to the forum, that's like one thing. Second thing is early progress, and we'll get there. And third thing is actually like to return people to the jam who may have slipped for reasons like the weather, like bad mood, for example, something. One hashtag sort of works. So official hashtag. So for example, for unofficial default game jam 2, hashtag, and it's everywhere. Like it's on each. People tweet with that. We tweet with that. we put this hashtag on the forum so people sort of remember it and tweet with that. On TweetDeck we have a separate column where we follow this hashtag, and so like the one line is like retweet like mad, flood, probably more than often, but while that may disappoint those who are not participating in the game jam, it's still like it's few times a year, so it's fine. And then we sort of help people understand that something is going on, and it's the event, so it's sort of good. So official hashtag. Then it's important like to facilitate stuff on the forum. It's important to pick cool things from the thread, and even if nobody tweeted about it, like go and put it on Tway. Schedule it spread out through the day. It's cool that this thread gets like official recognition. Facebook, I don't really see that much outcome from Facebook, but we have newsletter. And even though it requires time and concentration and like much more for us, we still want our newsletter to be nice. What are the main points for the game jam? Well, maybe a week before the jam to sort of bring people to the contest, to the jam, to the forum thread, and the forum thread should be there before, obviously, before the game jam. Then it's somewhere in the middle to show what everybody is doing, and that's where I'm coming. That's the best way to facilitate early progress is, well, peer pressure. Everybody is sort of shipping something. I wanna share my screenshot as well. Screenshot because nothing else really works, or at least few lines of code. I mean, like whatever I have. So in order to facilitate the early progress, which is the right niche to facilitate shipping, is to, well, draw a line somewhere within the jam and say, this is when we're sharing something. Or if for any reasons we fail to draw that line, we artificially draw that line, like decide ourselves, like Lexi, who's the main evangelist in the room, gonna at some point like figure out, okay, so this is somewhere like the middle of the jam, so this is the line, and you go throughout the thread and sort of post status updates, figure out the best status updates, put them to newsletter, look what you have tweeted about, and so that this line it gets, like, again, shout out the cannons that you have. Even if you feel like it spams a lot, you actually need this spam because this creates the peer pressure to nudge or to inspire people to show their own early progress. And so this is like a snowball, it grows, and even those less motivated to do something, then suddenly they have a reason to ship. It's hard to do, but ideally like almost before the shipping deadline, so there is a ship, so it's a creepy ship. Yeah, I felt with the ship. So before the shipping deadline, ideally it's also to create some buzz. It's rarely possible because normally you're also jamming and you're also focused and it's a crunch and it's hard. But say no pressure on Alexei. If you can, then you can. My own level of success with this pre-shipping deadline is 30 to 50%. So if you need a benchmark, that's the benchmark. After the shipping, it's important to do as much recognition as possible, like all the recognition we have. Again, you may utilize all the cannons, social, whatever you have. It makes sense to drive all the recognition can. Maybe allocate an evening and go personally rate and comment on all the games, and then go to the forum thread and say, look, I've done it. Maybe it can inspire other people to do it. I understand that it may feel like you're the only person actually doing anything. Yeah, but when the world is built on role models, so unfortunately, if you're organizer, you sort of have to be everywhere, and it requires time and energy. And that's why I suggested that you have bullet points before you start. It's like, so you can measure, So I'm investing all my evenings and sort of weekends into that, and also I would have shipped a better game jam game if I didn't have to also do the social things. So and then you look into the bullet points and see that, look, last jam we had whatever 50 people participating, now we have 100. So does it compensate that I'm shipping like a much smaller project this jam? It may or it may not. And if it doesn't compensate, then you know that you probably either don't want to participate yourself in the next jam, or maybe you want somebody else to organize it. So at least it's not just a frustration, it's a metered frustration, and then it's not just emotions, it's something that you can draw action points on, which is much, much better. So as a roundup, should I draw a roundup? I think like the whole point of game jam is still like the main point. There are lots of points, but the main point probably is fun. So make sure the community has fun. If you're able to facilitate fun, and also if you're able to facilitate to help like inspire people actually ship, nudge them to ship, well then you have a great game jam, and people wanna have fun, people wanna get their endorsements, people wanna get their recognition. And that's the reason why I do the shout outs every time I recognize a person from the forum, or I try to connect, like, because the nicks on the itch.io and on our forums are different, but it just makes sense to connect. And suddenly you remember, like, you helped that person in the forum, or like you retweeted them, and it's just personal, and it helps with the community aspect. Probably after the game jam, it makes sense to build a pipeline of tweets, of pieces of news, of something. So because after the shipping happened, people gonna share their emotions, their stuff themselves. So you may want just retweet, not create something. But after the wave sort of down, here is your backlog with what you wanted to recap, to talk about. It's when everybody's attention or like emotions are on the low end, and you're bringing back the whole sort of, you remember how cool it was to jam, what was important, and people suddenly can survive through that emotions again, and it's sort of good. And then you also take whatever for a few days or a week after the jam to rest a bit, and for your thoughts to settle down, and suddenly it all just pieces up and makes sense, and everybody's happy. And I repeated the word happy many times, because, well, happy and fun, that's why we exist in the industry, and that's what everybody, that's the main motivation for stuff. Good, I'm stopping the recording.